So since Idaho Forest Group has taken over, they're all about safety and they're all about teamwork, and they would like to have me there full-time, 5 days a week. So I told them I would look into seeing if anybody was interested in rescheduling our meetings, possibly for later afternoon into early evening, or do 2 4-hour sessions or something where I could be there 5 days a week. I really don't know. At this time, we're running at a slower pace down there, and so they've given me a little time to try and work this out. I don't know what the end result will be if I can't. You know, I guess if push came to shove and I was given the ultimatum of having my commissioner job or working down there full time, I would probably resign the commissioner job and take that full time. But if we can work around that, I would sure like to. I have 2 years left on my term yet, and I'd like to fulfill that. But. So we put it out there for discussion to see what folks thought.
So if you're doing like 4 hours or later shift, you would just start at 1 and work to 7 at night if you're doing,
No,
instead of doing a day?
no, I was thinking doing the commissioner meeting from the early afternoon to early evening, or late afternoon to early evening.
Same days, just later in the day? And
Yeah, or Thursday and Friday or something like that.
So I talked to Stacy, she said she will not come in the evenings. And her other concern was that if hourly personnel needed to come to the meetings, that would be overtime. So,
Yeah, but if it's evenings, there's a lot more public that has to work that could be able to be here. I know you've tried a few evening meetings. I don't know if,
They were
Many
poorly,
people
they were
came?
poorly attended, but
Were they?
Yeah.
how long is your meetings usually, 8 hours or 6?
well, normally on our commissioner day, we're here 9 to 4. You know, and then, of course, we also have board meetings. Are any of the boards going to be affected, Dwayne, or are you?
You know, I talked to you about the aging council. That's about the only one
That
that
was
would
the
be
only one.
that would be affected. I really don't sit on any other
Oh, okay.
boards.
Yeah, so I guess, so Dwayne's asking that we either consider adjusting not just the meeting day, but the time that they would begin, which what day, what hour were you thinking that? If they,
Well, whatever, you know, if we did 2 meetings, which I would assume we would want to do. I mean, one late night evening or one trying to cram all that into 8 hours or 7 hours one night would be run pretty late.
So you're suggesting two meetings
I was
a week,
thinking
4 hours?
My shift ends at 2:30. I could be down here by 3. So if we
Mhm.
went from 3 to 7, 2 nights a week, or somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm. And, or else the other possibility is that he would, like you said, resign, which would vacate a seat, and he would just do full-time at St. Regis.
And how does that's gonna affect Casey's job too?
If we went to the nights.
She either is gonna be paid overtime or be here less in the building.
during the day?
Mhm. Yeah, it does present some issues like meeting with, you know, other players and participants of everything from grants to projects, or whenever Tim has a group. So there are some definite downsides. We just wanted everyone to be in on this discussion and hear your thoughts, so.
Because I see during the week, a lot of times Lori's got meetings, so that can
Yeah, I've
conflict
got
with hers then.
meetings all, you know, between human resource and both in Missoula and here and
So we heard from Stacy, we heard from Mary. Hunter heard from Kathleen. Tim, what are your thoughts on Dwayne's pickle?
But Ellen was gonna tell us what that to be.
But it's been, so,
My thought is that it puts my department in potentially the kind of the world of hurt, because I have received quite a few comments of engineers, consultants, that they really don't have a preference for meeting later in the week. They would like to get their projects and clients worked on in that earlier part if we need to. But the practical side of it is that you really don't want to start hearing subdivision applications and plats with, just two commissioners. That can lead to a real iffy situation, because if you end up with one commissioner opposed and one commissioner in favor of the subdivision, and there's only two of you here, then you're sitting there, who's gonna do what for a motion? One can make an emotion to approve it, and the other one's not gonna second. But then that's not really a fair situation to have, go to those people and say, oh, by the way, would you like to continue this? I mean, they've done their good faith effort and paid their consulting firm a lot of money to do that. So at least from my perspective, that's one thing to consider. If there's other things that come up that pertain to the office and stuff like that. But now with the subdivision activities picking up again, we're gonna start hearing more subdivisions, so that's at least a consideration.
And I apologize for being late. Can we just do a quick recap? I do understand, Dwayne, with your employment, it makes it difficult to come to Thursday and Friday meetings?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and what they're asking is, so what I've had in the past with Tricon is they always gave me Fridays off. And they're asking me to be there full-time on Friday now.
Okay.
And so I was talking, maybe we could do a late afternoon, early evening, do two meetings like that, like a Thursday and Friday or whatever. The days really don't matter to me. If it was in the afternoon, my shift ends at 2:30, I could be here by 3 if we did something like that to accomplish the same amount of time that we do now on Friday.
Okay. And are there concerns from people in the community about a later afternoon meeting as well? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah, so far we've heard people talk about, well, then we would incur more overtime for people that had to be at the meetings, like our secretary or others who had to be present. And Tim's pointing out a lot of his people and players are day business operators, engineers, mappers, subdivision people. And I guess Stacy said she's not coming in. She had Mary tell that she's not coming in after 5 for anything, so. What about
Lori's
judgment?
got meetings that she already has for days of the week in the afternoons or.
So there's not another day that you can swap the Friday for, like Tuesday?
Well, actually,
They want-
Friday meetings are the best for me because
Okay.
that's the only day that I don't have other meetings throughout the month
Okay.
that,
Well, but your regular question, yeah, you were wondering if it was better on Tuesday or Wednesday for he could attend, or
But, yeah.
I asked if he could go to night shift, but there is no night shift.
Yeah.
So
See,
it's-
and that's when I first started being commissioner, there was a night shift and I worked the night shift and then did this during the day. So I was able to, without the conflict, but they're asking to be there full time now, 5 days a week.
Right.
So it really wouldn't matter what day it was.
Okay. So the days off are the weekends?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Which, doesn't bode well for commission meetings.
So they've given me a little time to work on it and talk about it and see what what we could hash out, and I told them I would bring it forward and see what people thought. That's where we're at.
Well, and it's not just, commissioners meetings here too, though. We have annual conventions and stuff, and I'm usually the only one that goes. And it's really hard because there's some, meetings, you sit on the Justice and Public Safety one. So I've been going to those, but then I'm also on the Public Lands Committee, and sometimes there's a conflict. I mean, there's different, meetings throughout the convention that, which one do I go to? And so it just makes it easier when there's more than one commissioner at the convention to,
I know. Yep. Yep.
Judge McGowan, any 2 cents worth?
Really doesn't matter that much to me, but I can see how it impact on people, departments. And I don't drive at night.
We have Uber.
And the ever boisterous and opinionated Candelibra? I have to tease you,
I know. Couldn't let it go.
Yeah.
Well, she would be another one that would have to attend meetings and either have overtime or be here less in a day.
Which may make it difficult in the planning department because most people come during regular business hours, and if you're not there to attend the night meeting.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we could let this word get out and hear from other people. I thought there'd be more people here today. Kind of like we did with the sheriff thing, once it got out that, that there was a vacancy and people started sending in letters and their opinions via
We
email.
did get one, didn't we, from, I think, Monty Turner or something, said.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we got some other letters from people too.
Yeah, he said we didn't want to see him in his pajamas.
Oh, from Monty about this topic.
Yeah.
Oh. How long did they give you to, can we? Revisit
Things
this?
are running slow down there right now.
Mhm.
The next few weeks, I would hope we figure something out.
Mhm. I just wonder if we should put on the agenda for a week from now or so, and then give people time to provide their input to us too. I mean, I'm flexible, but there are some points being made that
Yeah.
maybe our flexibility is going to cause more headache than positive. But, or what do you think, Lori? Do we want to talk about an action now? Or what do you want to do, Dwayne? Do you want to fish or cut bait today, or do you want to?
Well, we can keep working on it if you think there's a solution to it. I don't know. It's a tough deal. I wish there was a night shift that I could, but there isn't at this time. They don't plan on a night shift, if at all, for 2 years probably. So.
Miss
I'm
Mary?
just throwing this out there, but are they willing to let you off one day at, say, noon? And then you guys could have a straight 6-hour, that way it only put, no offense, but you'd be the only one stuck here an extra hour. I mean, then you could get everybody else's stuff done up before 5.
It's possible. I haven't talked to them about that. But, it may be a possibility. I couldn't speak, say yes or no.
I'm just throwing that out there.
Otherwise, there would Mr. Simon would be forced to leave us, which I'd hate to see, because I've gotten to know you pretty well.
Well, I'd hate to do it too, but you know, like I say, if I was given that, put in that position, I would probably go with the full-time job.
Mhm.
I think they're gonna be a very good company to work for, and they have good benefits, and they're gonna be an asset to the county, is what they're gonna be.
And the couple letters we've received, are they asking that it stay as is, or,
They just don't want to have to come to evening meetings.
okay?
Yeah, they prefer it to be daytime business.
Monty said once he got in his pajamas, he couldn't get out, and he said, "You don't wanna see me in my pajamas." And I don't. I didn't know it really received any more than.
Oh, well, when I was in the mindset of, we received several for the sheriff one, and I forgot regarding you, we had received one, but I just was wondering if we just waited another week, maybe we could hear more opinions from others,
Yeah.
and then
And
decide.
I'll run this idea, you know,
Okay.
would you guys be willing to do that, noon to 6?
At least it's 5 hours of the regular day, I mean,
Or noon
yeah,
to 7? or
that's
what?
better than, that's better than.
I don't know. I usually have evening or Friday evening plans, but
We could move the day too, I mean, it doesn't have to be Friday, but we could, yeah, I guess, see if they even are open to that.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't even need to go down that road, but,
And if they're giving you a few weeks to try to figure something out, I think it would be interesting to see, and especially your constituents, people in your district, see how they feel, or if anybody else has another idea.
Okay.
I don't think
Yeah.
there's a rush to make a decision today, if you
Yeah,
feel
no.
like you need more input.
we've got about 2 more meetings in December, so if Dwayne's able to attend, we can give this another week or so to
And I
hear from
appreciate
others.
they're not saying now, that you have to make a decision, yes or no, so.
Well, it's running slow down there right now. They're doing a lot of repair and different items we're working on, and so we're not running at full capacity, and, you know, hopefully I'll run that idea by them and see what they say to that, and go from there.
Okay, so thanks for everybody for coming, and if you have further input or comment or others, tell them to please send us an email letter or a written letter and give it to Casey, and we'll put it on the agenda for next Friday, or you want it to be the following?
Yeah, no, let's do it next Friday.
So December 22.
Maybe, yeah, brainstorm other ideas too.
Yeah, maybe there's, I don't know what else. Thank you.
Right, it's 10:02, and the next item agenda is the Sherlaw Avenue petition for partial abandonment. Mr. Reed.
So the adjoining landowners, I didn't really rework the map up here to the degree, but during Don Bauer piece here, this is what instigated the Sherlaw Avenue in there. And then there's the Jeff Wright piece, and Aaron and Ron LaPierre, and then Bruce and
Sergio?
you'd have to do there's 2 pieces of property here. There's multiple lots on all these, but basically 4 ownerships along Sherlaw here that we'd be considering today. And abandonment of a street in a platted subdivision is slightly different than abandonment of a county road. Not a lot of different considerations of that, but the important aspect of altering a plat and changing that is that the commissioners have a public hearing, set a public hearing, publish a public hearing, and notice it so that people may have an opportunity to comment, and if there's, in these circumstances, on a county road, if there's 2 landowners that protested, then you're obligated to disregard the petition. In this case, if there was a I presume it applies for both of them, is that if you were abandoning some county platted right-of-way that would lead to recreational opportunities, then you would be obligated to not consider the petition. But I don't think any of those are, that's the case. I might, since I've done my findings of fact, then there will be a subsequent findings of facts that will be by the commissioners, and I will probably make note of that we are not having any effect on.
So Jim, just back up. With a county road, if there are 2 protesters, but what about in this case, it's a subdivision, how many protesters, if there are any protesters?
It doesn't, it just kind of puts it in reverse. It says that as long as all of the adjoining landowners sign the petition, then things are fine.
So basically, instead of a protest, okay, it's an agreement
It's an
petition.
I mean, it's like, you can approach it and do that. It's like if people not adjoining the section of platted street that you're working on, I guess they can protest, but it doesn't, it's like, too bad. It really has no effect over them. But if out of the 4 landowners, if one of them said, I don't want any alteration of that street, I like it the way it is, then the way I would read it is that you would be pretty much obligated to not grant the petition for abandonment.
So there is no ratio, if there were 6 landowners and one said no versus 4 and one said no, you're just saying that even if it's along Sherlaw and is affected?
Yeah, it just puts it the other way. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
have everybody that adjoins the section that's under consideration sign, and that's what we did. So that, I mean, that's the approach I took, is that it's kind of an all or none, and that's why we did the first thing, because I just didn't want to.
Was there agreeance in this case?
What?
Was there agreeance with all of you?
Yes, all of the 4 adjoining landowners have signed a petition to alter the right-of-way for Sherlaw Avenue. So my findings was somewhat similar to what it was before, is that the plat was platted in 1904, and there was some very interesting concepts by Joseph Sherlaw, the president of the mining company at that time, because he's talking about streets and avenues that could be used for railroads and different things, so that public sewer, and they kind of threw everything in there, and then for whatever reason made this Sherlaw Avenue a 100-foot width instead of all of the adjoining avenues and streets that in that area are 75 feet. And typically now we would consider something being adequate at being 60 feet, but so for some reason known in 1904, they made this extra wide street. So, at this time, there are utilities on the east side of the street. They extended a water line for the town down the east side of Sherlaw, from what I've picked up from Roger Wasley, that would be, they tied over to the extension on 4th Street from, and that's why the county also gave the town a extra easement up here in Sherlaw, because the road is not aligned within the 100-foot easement. This section of Amador Town Sites was abandoned. Remember they were talking about the airport. And they just went through into general abandonment when this used to be the airport property. I have looked, I've never seen a picture of that out of the airport.
That's
Look.
what that cement pad is in our backyard in that spot out there. That's what that is the old radio and telephone transmission thing for the old airport.
For
That's
the
what
old
that
airport.
cement pad is that we chipped
Yeah.
away to put our fence in, yeah.
So, I don't know how long, I mean, it wasn't, I don't think it was a paved runway, I think it was gravel.
Yeah, it was gravel.
There's gravel, it's out there somewhere where it started and ended, but
Really?
I do have an historical
Yeah.
site. Yeah, there you go.
better not be messing with
Gosh.
this. We didn't tell the hysterical society that we
The Hysterical Society.
So, anyway, they looped the water system and came down this side. And because this was an encroachment into the county property over there, we worked up, facilitated an easement, that encroachment easement for that water line, because it's not sitting in the Sherlaw right away in this section, it's on the county property over there, so. And had all of this basically surveyed because of the one-time proposal to give additional property or, transfer ownership rights, whatever, to the hospital, of some additional property there, so that's why it prompted these surveys in here to see what the county actually had and was a thing. So, anyway, water line connected this loop and around, sewer line stops down here, there's no sewer in this side or down this street, but, obviously, from a planning perspective, someday in the future, that sewer will most likely be extended to include areas that would be, it would be logical to extend the sewer down there in that fashion at some point in time. I mean, you have a sewer main down here, so tapping in that and pulling that together, I don't know, the gravity there or gravity there to make those sewer connections. But so in that, one of the aspects then is that the sewer line would be on the opposite side of the street as the water line, to try to minimize the disturbance for the surface of the street out here. So that was one of the factors that I've considered in for the findings of fact out there.
We've lived in our house for close to 20 years. Bruce has been there longer. Don and Jerry have been there longer than Bruce, I think. And
Since '98.
none of us recall them trenching a water line in front of our side of the street.
That's what Roger said, and I'm like, really?
I mean, that would have been kind of a big thing that would stick in your mind. I even asked my kids, and they have better memories. They're like, no, I don't remember them digging up art, because it's supposed to be on our side of the street, and I don't ever remember them digging up, trenching through there.
Well, Roger,
Your kids would have been down in it, they'd have told us.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, 'cause we would have lived in our, we wouldn't have been able to get in our driveways for a
Yeah.
little while, and
Yeah.
My grandma.
that never happened that I can recall in the time we've owned our house.
Yeah.
And I was at the sheriff's department still when I was there, so that's a long time ago.
And my
Well,
grandparents owned our house before that. They bought it brand new in '78, and so I've been around there forever, and
So I think we might be mistaken on where that line is. I mean, I wouldn't
I don't
testify to it.
I don't know if it's there. That was just Roger's comment.
Yeah,
that it was there or it was planned.
That it is there. Roger says it is there, but
I thought that he said the engineering firm recommended connection from the 4th Avenue water main to what the
Maybe the
ultimate
county
thing
paid
was
for
is
something
that
they didn't get.
this water main that was back in here, they replaced this water main and came down here. Whether, I don't think it dead ends there, but I don't know.
is
But
the,
they wanted to get flow round loop in there so that, because the water main that went under the interstate and went up above, they wanted to increase that, and that,
The closest hydrant or anything that we have is over on those other lots, no, over, up, and then go north, yeah, right there on
Right
that
there,
corner.
yeah.
On that corner right there off of 4th, and then that street there on the other side of the alley, that's the
but
closest.
this is all new water and sewer out here.
Over
right
there,
on 4th Avenue.
but not Sherlaw, possibly, but we don't remember anything.
Is the Mormon church in city limits?
No,
No,
the, oops, we don't have the city.
no, but we're kind of make
The-
a jog down there.
The city limit should end right here, the
Right.
mapping cut it off there, but this is the amended Amador Block 66, but the town limits right now are Longforth in there and then coming across. Technically, they would come down there because this was annexed into the town so that if there was something new, like the hospital or whatever, that was at one time planned out there, that at least it was annexed so that they could consider connection to the sewer system, water and sewer. But that's, I will clarify whether there's a water line out there or not before the thing. And Bruce, you can help me with this one. Is there underground telephone
Yeah.
on either
The
side?
phone goes down there and then, there's a pedestal there and, where the alley would be the red roof. There's a pedestal there, there's a pedestal on both sides of this.
There's one in outside of our fence.
Yeah. There's a pedestal here, and then it goes up a pole and feeds our two houses. There's a ped here and here, and then
In between ours
there's,
and Wright's house.
several down there. You can actually see one there, I think. And,
And there's a pole right behind my house in
Yeah.
that field.
that pole kind
So this doesn't go underground up the alley?
No, it goes right to a pedestal into this lilac tree here and, goes up a pole here and goes down to a pole right there and feeds both our houses.
Okay, that's one thing I didn't figure out is that what utilities in that alley. Supposedly alley. And then your power.
Comes off of that pole that Bruce is
Yeah.
speaking of.
This pole right here?
Yeah, right there, kind of divides our properties.
Okay, so there's power in that.
And it deadheads, it stops there and doesn't go towards Fourth Avenue anymore.
Okay.
In our research, we didn't think that there was any utilities between what we're talking about on Sherlaw there.
You here?
No,
Yeah.
no cable,
No,
no
there's-
power, no water, sewer, anything.
I may have misinterpreted Rogers as that it's logical that the water line would run down there, but I.
Yeah, because Wright's comes off the back there at the corner, just a long drop cloud around it, down what would be, again, be the alley.
We've got that pole right in, right up
There's a pole
Yep.
right here that has power on it. But does your telephone come off of that pole?
I think it does.
Yeah, it's right on our fence line between Wright's and ours and not
Yeah.
the alley, but there's nothing on Sherlaw.
But the power and the telephone come off.
Power in here.
Appreciate that, I should have that discussion before.
I wanted to keep them.
So, with that, the surface of the Sherlaw Avenue averages about 20 feet. County subdivision regulations certainly indicate that a 24-foot hard surface footprint for the road is preferable, is what we should deal with. There can be situations that you could see less than that, so anyway, it was put in that way and it's been that way. I don't know how long ago that was chip sealed and done to that surface, but it is about 20 feet. Interestingly enough, the town adopted a addendum to the subdivision regulations for Mineral County and the towns of Alberton and Superior, and their addendum still says that they want 75-foot wide roads. I don't know when we're gonna get that, but there was a consideration for parking on either side of the road, but, again, it's not in the town, so I think that we have to try to bring forth that the standards that would be in the subdivision regulations for Mineral County at least should try to be adhered to in this section, so. With that, then, if the commissioners were to consider abandoning, it's approximately 300 feet along these frontages there, at least on plat, if you look at the plat of this one here, if you take 66 and you add up all those lot widths in there on either side of the Sherlaw Avenue in here, this distance from these lots would equal about 300 feet, so approximately a 300-foot strip in the length type of things, and then
So we would each end up with 150 feet by, or about somewhere in that area?
no, you
That
and
would,
you and Jeff Wright will end up with about 150 feet.
okay.
Aaron is, can't remember how many lots he owns. We had that somewhere. but-
Well, we own
Not
12,
enough.
there's 12 across there because we have 6 and Wrights have 6, so I
Oh, he's
think.
wondering about it.
Right,
I know,
and 6
but-
and 6, but
Well,
Aaron-
yours, Bruce, on the other.
We got 4 and 4.
So I must be
Aaron must have
4.
4.
I'm probably the
so
same as Bruce.
Aaron has 4 and Bruce has 8.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna be equitable, it's, Bruce is gonna have the greater frontage of,
And what are we thinking
That's what we don't
width-wise
wanna do
then,
this month.
Tim?
20 feet,
20 feet.
and then.
And that would be with a 60-foot road?
That'll leave a
right
60-foot right of way in there, and if you want to convince the commissioners to increase that, they have every right to do that. I'm just recommending
Right.
20 feet.
Well, I'd like to recommend a 50-foot. That would give us 10 more, right?
On each side.
Fine.
And it, 5 on each side.
Yeah.
Would that give you enough room for your project?
I could probably do it, yeah. It'd be a little tight, but
We just wanna make sure that we're back far enough where we can still plow, and, you know what I mean, it's not gonna cause us
Well-
problems or them problems, that's.
So you're
Well, look what we
proposing,
have right now. Theoretically, what we have right now is about 50 feet. And we all park on, I mean, if somebody needs to park, they park in my grass. Well, your grass.
Somebody's right.
That we can take care of, yeah.
we need to come up with parking meters, that's what we need.
There you go.
I mean, how do you feel about that, Aaron and Bruce?
I mean, to make your project go forward, I would say 50 feet would be more than enough, because that's, 50 feet would be more than what we have.
The county's gonna end up with a 50-foot right of way, is that?
I believe that's what would work for Jerry and Don,
I mean, that would increase the 20-foot strip to 25.
right?
Right.
I mean, I can all have a parley-vous and say it's more on this side of the street and less on this. but-
And that's, I was thinking that myself, to get them to accommodate what they need. I guess if Bruce and Mary Jo and Ron and I decide that, well, we'll just take less than what you guys get, that would probably be okay with me.
What was some-
The thing is, you're never, I mean, I understand that the county's, I'm assuming nothing will ever be done with it. I mean, it's unmarketable property anyway. It's not like you could put anything on it other than grass, trees, whatever.
And facilitating the road and the utilities. I mean, that's, but the perspective that to want to try to maintain is that, you know, the town of Superior is gonna very likely end up with that. I mean, it just seems to be strange to have a U-shaped inclusion into their town boundaries, but that's gonna be a whole different discussion way down the road, because that's gonna be annexation. The town is not gonna do anything out there without annexation.
Yeah.
And it is, I mean, I don't think we need a 4-lane or
you know what I mean, a big busy street. It gets used occasionally by bigger trucks. I mean, the MRI truck for the hospital doesn't go up and down, they just use right up on the other side. They use the, wherever that is, Brooklyn or whatever that street is down there by the school. So, I mean, it is still a residential area, so we have a huge road with fast cars going up and down, you know what I mean? As far as big, huge wide 2 lanes to,
Yeah, and there's nobody's gonna put in a horse-drawn tram,
you know,
so
hopefully not.
it's, which is what it was, you know,
Designed.
originally
Reserved
designed for, so. Yeah, you know, I'm with Aaron, you know, if it'll help them, and you guys are okay with not having the existing street dead center in the right of way, we could, squeeze a little off that way.
I mean, I propose that we go 25 feet from the center line, both sides, and have it be that.
Yeah. so
That's a
it'd be-
lot of room for snow mitigation,
It is.
plenty of room for vehicles to park. For the most part, with my plow truck, at least on our street, I kind of maintained it on our own anyway, so.
Well, that puts us in somewhat of a dilemma, but,
I mean, my thing is, however we make this work, to make it work for Don and Jerry. If I have to give up some stuff, I mean, I'm not really giving up anything anyway, because I'm utilizing the property like it's my own anyway, you know? I mean, theoretically, I poured probably 3 extra yards of concrete that are on county property for my driveway, not even realizing that it wasn't mine.
And you know, to be honest, for all practical purposes, we're probably paying taxes on it. Because anybody driving by is gonna look at a big front lawn, they don't know that the 2 trees in my front yard are actually on county property, and my lawn is about 15 feet wide. And, you know, that anybody driving by, I mean, if you get out and measure and everything, it's gonna become apparent, but to somebody that's just looking. And, you know, we're taking care of it anyway. Now that we've got the other thing, we've got a weed issue on that lot, but we just got that lot, so.
okay, so with, the one thing I'm not very comfortable with is not having Jeff Wright here. I mean, you know, to get his
Well,
feedback.
and I've
But-
talked to Jeff quite a
I've
bit,
talked to
and
him.
he's on board pretty much with everything. I understand he's not here to speak for himself.
I talked to him this morning, reminded him of the meeting, and he's working in Missoula.
Okay, okay. and-
Did he sign the
that's fine,
petition
but-
of agreement, though?
But,
He did.
Yeah.
yeah, I do that, so. But if you're gonna deviate from the 300 by 20, we need to get that sorted out, so if you wanna move the Bauer and extend that line in there over more, then we need to,
You mean go from the 60 width road to the 50 to provide 5 feet more on either side of the street? Is that what you're referring?
well, yeah, I mean,
Or gain them to 10 on our side.
at some point in time, I'd like to just take the easy way out and say, hey, when all 4 of them have come in and said, this is what we all want, you know, this is the width, then just continue this to a future meeting and when we've seen an agreement by the,
We can call Jeff if you'd like, or I can call him.
well, I, you know,
And was I out of the room, or did the subject of cost and economics come up about
that
how?
hasn't been discussed yet. We haven't arrived at what's gonna be an equitable cost for the abandonment of that property. I'm just trying to figure out what the area is gonna look like for each adjoining landowners. So let's do the east side first, and then Aaron and Bruce. What do you want to make it look like on this side for the frontage of your property?
I mean, I'm okay with exactly how the street is right now, but
But would 20 additional feet work with that?
I took it down.
You have to be on your front porch.
So, the question is, if we're gonna leave a 50-foot strip here, because I don't have any problem with 50-foot strip, because Roger, he sat right here and told us that, right?
Yes.
He said, and.
Said a lot of
the-
superior
the-
50 feet still.
The thing that the county should look for is the future for the town of Superior, because, like you say, if it ever gets annexed, what would they have been satisfied with? And they said 50 feet.
Right.
And that only being, so if this ever got resurfaced and pulled to one side or the other, so do we want to put 20 on this side and 30 on that side, which is gonna end up with a 50-foot strip? Or go five more on each side, and instead of 20, it's gonna be 25 and 25, and make it equitable for the frontage of on either side of the street, so. That's the,
25 on our side, 25 on Bruce and Aaron's side, is that what you're meaning, Tim?
I don't wanna do too lot of math in my head, but 25 and 25 comes up to 50, out of 100, so it's 50 feet left.
How do you feel about that, Aaron?
I'm okay. I mean, the thing is, I stand to gain property, so, I'm okay with whatever you decide.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like anything's gonna change. If we decide to not do it at all, we're all still gonna mow our lawn and we're still gonna maintain it and.
Okay, so we are gonna alter and have the understanding that the final strip will be 50 feet in the middle and 25 feet will be taken out on either side of the Sherlaw Avenue for the adjoining landowners.
And we would end up with 25 on the width.
Yeah.
Yes, 25 from the center line.
Got you.
Yeah, instead of the 30 that you know, with getting closer to the 30, but not closer
Right.
to 25, so. So, the only other outstanding question for me then is to come up with a unit price, or you guys come up and say, we'll offer you, since the strips are gonna be equal, we'll think that here's a reasonable offer that the county should consider for this strip of land. Because whenever we've obtained easements in the past, in the recent past, since I've been here, we've had to pay for them. And a couple of them we've paid dearly for. So I'm
Well, I
not.
mean, I can understand that if somebody wants a big chunk of real estate that's gonna add value to their home and their property, but, I mean,
So,
that,
well, all I would suggest is that Bruce bought a bare piece of property down here.
right,
Take Bruce's purchase price, calculate it per square foot and say, that's it. Or we think that that's high and we think this is a reasonable offer. Just come up with because you.
I mean, I know what Bruce paid, so it probably wouldn't be very much. But that's,
What's it,
we'll have
what's
to
25
discuss
square,
that.
take what your square footage, what would that be, Bruce, just in your head?
What we bought was 4 25-foot by 100 lots, or are they 110?
Should be on that.
I think when it actually came out, they're 110, and we paid 10 grand.
So a quarter of what you paid
And then, so,
would be one lot, basically is what we're getting.
Yeah.
100 lights.
it's just lengthwise.
If it's 100 feet, or if it's 300 feet, we're each getting roughly from your trees.
So they're approximately 115 by 25.
115 by 25, okay.
Yeah, and they're not 100. So,
115 by 100.
Whip your calculator on it, Mr. Commissioner.
The lot, Bruce lot?
Yeah, we're just going by what he paid for his lot,
Right.
figuring out what it is,
So basically,
figuring out by the square foot what he paid.
Okay, Jim, what do you want me to type in here?
115
it's like a 2
4 times 100, well, that's easy.
115 times 100?
Yeah, I can do that one.
Yeah. 11,500.
So that, is that the square footage that's the square footage that you bought, 11,100
Yeah,
and
115, we paid, 10,000 for
So what is that? per-
1,100 feet, square feet.
so it's about $10 a square foot. So 300 by 25,
300 by 25, 7,500.
Each side of the street.
That's for the whole thing.
Yeah.
okay.
That'd be for the whole thing,
That'd be the whole,
the whole size of the street.
so
Mhm.
either divide it by 4 and,
Divided by 4, it's 1875.
so you'd say that that would be,
We divided by 5 though.
Because Bruce has two, or has,
yeah,
Yeah.
By 5.
Oh, yeah, 'cause he's got-
Divided by 5?
should.
Divided by
should
5,
almost-
it's 1,500.
You should almost divide it by the total number of lots on either side.
Yeah, whatever lot you're adding.
Because then it would be to that frontage of that lot and stuff, so. But if you get a strip that's 150 by 25,
what I got out of Jeff, myself, I don't feel like he's okay with the project going forward. I don't think he wants to pay
A lot of money.
a
He
lot of money
doesn't
for his,
like that.
he's kind of
He thought it was.
like, I mean, for him, it's like, his yard's well maintained, so nothing's gonna change. If this doesn't happen, the only people that it affects is Don and Jerry. I'm still gonna, me and Bruce are still gonna mow our lawn every weekend, and so, and Jeff's gonna do his like he does, and,
Right.
we're doing this
So-
for Don and Jerry, not,
do you, I guess I would suggest is that for the commissioners, they could continue this to a future meeting to sign the vacation order. But at that point in time, you would have come back and say, we're willing to give you this much money for that area. Just, you shoot it at us, whatever.
but, I don't know what Don and Jerry, I certainly be willing to give $1,000 or something for it, and have it be.
Something, I don't, I don't,
I agree. 1,000.
so.
Jim, will it require any surveying, or is it just a matter of semantics with,
The vacation process is that when you alter this Sherlaw Avenue, then the vacation order is that you're saying the adjoining landowners can obtain that land. At that point in time, the only way they can obtain that land is an amended plat. So they would be responsible for hiring a surveyor and pushing their boundaries out 25 feet in front of their lots and making a new description for, their.
so there will be some additional cost on the landowner then?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
3,000 to
We got a
4,000
quote
Yeah.
surveyor.
from Rocky Mountain
So-
Surveyor. $4,000 for
Mhm.
all of it.
Well,
That'd be 1,000 apiece for us.
I don't know why it'd be that much, because the marker's already in his yard, so we actually know where the property line is. I don't,
Mhm.
if we go off of his pin on the corner of his,
Right.
what's the street in front of you? Fifth?
Yeah.
On Fifth and Sherlaw, the pin is right, the concrete pin's sitting plain as day in the corner of his house, so, or yard. So we essentially, I don't know why we'd have to pay a surveyor $4,000 to establish something that we already know.
That yellow line where it makes the angle is pretty much
Yeah, right
dead
where
on
that
that pin.
It is, yeah.
So, I mean, there's some other surveyors out there if you want
Right.
different.
There is, I'm gonna be in contact with one from Trout Creek that a friend of mine told me about that may do this. That's
Yeah.
the quote we
Yeah,
have.
but I mean, that's reasonable. Jerry's right about that. That's in the.
Oh, no, I
know
know, I'm-
that.
As far as the property, I'm like Aaron, I'll offer $1,000. And I don't know, Bruce, what his opinion is there.
Yeah, you know, I probably scrape it up, not this week, but
Go sell blood.
But I'm not sure
Installment
what
plan.
Jeff will say.
I can call Jeff.
Okay.
I can call him right now if we need to.
But my thing is, if we're gonna have $1,000 and then another $1,000, $2,000 to get this hammered out, it's like, good lord,
Plus we have to pay these other
trying to
fees.
build a house.
Well,
Yeah, and for some of you, it'll just be like you say, a formality of saying, now that's my land. And for some of you, it's gonna be beneficial if you're gonna wanna get a loan from a bank and put a garage up or something.
Well, I mean, essentially, it's beneficial to the county, because I'm assuming our tax is gonna be reassessed, so they're gonna go up for the property
Right.
that we've gained.
they are.
Mhm.
But I gotta look at it too, that it's gonna add value to our homes too. Well, I mean,
yeah, we had no idea. I'd been there almost 2 years before I realized that my front yard wasn't mine.
When Jeff was his name, Jeff didn't know either.
Right.
Another reason we knew it is because we had to figure it out when we put the fence in, how we measured like 6 inches in from the property line to put the fence, chain link fence, and we had to chip out part of the old airport telephone to get, so that's the only reason, you know, we knew that, so.
Yeah, and the cost, you know, like you said, you've been using it forever, and who knows, who really cares? The money thing wouldn't really be a big deal. I'd probably be more inclined to forgive it all, except like Tim pointed out, we have the same thing happening in the reverse, where there's a county road that was developed in 1940, and it's not wide enough, and then the railroad wants to put a crossing, and they need it to be this wide, and then we don't own land beyond the right-of-way, and so then we have to end up buying 15 or 20 feet to make the road line up correct, and then we end up paying through the nose. So I think Tim's idea of something, rather than just forgiving it all and giving it to you, even though it's really not
I mean,
gonna-
does the county have a surveying company that they generally use that we could speak to?
I think it's the same one that you got the quote, is it Rocky
Rocky
Mountain?
Mountain.
What's that?
He's asking if there's one that the county generally works with, and isn't it the Rocky Mountain one? Or?
No, Jane B is our examining land surveyor, but it puts us in a tough spot because if there's a survey developed, then we want her to check it, so.
Oh, right, okay.
So, Rocky Mountain Surveyors, Hagedorn Surveying, and Tim Smith are the three that operate in the area around here. Other than that, it's gonna be an engineering firm from Missoula, so.
So basically, Romy, you just kind of want us to pay like a token, even though our real estate taxes are gonna go up because we're gonna have more real estate. You just want us to pay like a token for just saying,
Well, I was originally of the mindset that, well, no harm, no foul, let's let the good folks just have it, because we're only talking, 25 feet or whatever. But Tim reminded me, and we are, on the other end, like I just described, we're supposed to be paying somebody to fix another road issue. So any revenue we can get, we just did the math, and at what, 1875, 1500, I'm not interested in getting the exact dime compared to what Bruce just paid, but we're just looking for something to offset the costs that we're having to spend on the other end of our similar road issues that aren't in our favor, so.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
At the same token, like everybody, I want something for nothing, but, I think it's reasonable, but.
but being it's county property now, so let me put a little twist on this, being it's county property now, shouldn't you assume that the survey cost then, being it's yours, or no?
I don't know, what is?
Well, I think because we're wanting it deeded over to us, that we need to bear a little bit of the,
I guess it's to whoever's advantage, I don't know. I don't know what the rule is. Now, Tim, can you explain that?
Well, I mean, it's the petition comes in here and everything else, that doesn't obligate the county to facilitate the thing. The county's obligated to hear it, decide whether they're gonna alter or abandon a portion of that avenue, and at that point in time, then the knowledge and understanding that the county has is the only way that is gonna be changed is through an amending of a plat that says, now this is added on there, and then those deeds are based on that. That's the only way you can take possession of that property, is facilitate an amended plat, file new deeds, and do that. And that we should be the reviewers of that, not the facilitators of that responsibility.
Okay, they're just kind of, for just a question, if for some reason Wright decides that he doesn't want to spend any money on any portion of this, does the entire thing blow up, or can we cut him out of the whole deal? Or either one of us, for that matter, if somebody decides they don't want to, we're not spending any money on it because we got it anyway. If somebody was to decide that, does the whole project blow up, or can it proceed without that section being annexed?
My recommendation to the commissioners would be to just deny the petition and drop it at that time. They don't have to. They could do 3 out of 4 if they felt like that, but it really leaves a.
Oh, I can see where it would complicate things.
Yeah.
So
We started
Wouldn't
the
it
whole thing
just
way back in
jog
the
then?
spring, just trying to go about it the right way. We could have thrown up a garage or a shop or something out there on that spare lot. We've been taking care of it for however many years anyway, but we just wanted to, you know what I mean, do the right thing and actually put it on our property. You know, we could have done whatever, but we
Well, we do
decided
need
not
a
to.
garage for the weed guy's truck in the winter. so-
Yeah, yeah. Sign here,
Yeah.
sign here, no cost.
Oh, thanks, guys.
We'll trade ya. Spot in the garage for, sign here.
Well, I think the unknown is Jeff, right? That if he's willing to pay something for it, let's get that sorted out. And
Okay.
do that. And then if it's whatever you agree upon, and just come back with something for the commissioners to give on, and then we'll take that under consideration.
It has to be done by a surveyor. We can't go off of that corner pin on Bauer's property and say, we want from here to here, measure from the center line of the road, and say, paint a mark in Wright's corner, paint a mark in my corner, paint a mark in Bruce's corner, and be like, this is it. It's 25 feet each side from the center line. There we go. The whole surveyor thing just seems.
Yeah.
Still leaves anything happening in that area that's the county's liable for. Yeah, we need to move the physical property line to remove the county's liability.
I mean,
Well,
my
he's
thing is,
just
I'm
saying,
okay
can't
with
you-
paying the $1,000 for the property if I have to. But then we slap on another $1,000 to, so essentially, I'm not being rude, but that's like me and Bruce gifting Don and Jerry $1,000.
Mhm.
Well, it's not though, because you gain.
Well, I know,
property too.
I understand, but I'm talking about on top of the, I mean, I feel
No,
like.
you're right, Aaron.
I feel like I'm paying more than enough for the property.
But you can't just go off a pin. I mean,
Yeah.
surveyors are
You
surveyors for a
gotta
reason.
have somebody that's
Well,
licensed
but
and
the thing
bonded
is,
by the state.
that original pin was done by a surveyor.
And that's fine, you know, I've got a piece out in front of my place there, and that, I'll bet you it's been surveyed. How many times do you think that's been surveyed, Tim?
About 20.
Yeah, at least 20 since I've been there, and I mean, next week there might be somebody there surveying it again, and it just amazes me, how many times can you survey something, you know? But yeah,
Well, I mean, my thing is the thing, if you're having, I don't care if they come to my property and survey it 20 times if I'm not paying for it, I don't care.
well, I know, but if it's gotta be done correctly.
I know, right.
But down
Well-
the road, like if you were to sell that property, then they're gonna have to go off the,
The bank's gonna want,
you know, I mean, if we do abandon that, then if you were to sell your property, they're gonna go by the pins that's on record. If you were to survey that off and, you know, it end up being yours, so.
So what if we get a quote from this guy from Trout Creek, Aaron,
That's-
and see what
I'll
it is?
see. I have a Christmas party in Trout Creek tonight, and,
Get him looped up
and
first.
he'll,
There you go.
his employee will be there, so I can talk to him. My wife already spoke to him.
Tim Smith?
Well, his name is Brad, but I think he works for Tim.
Yeah, the surveyor I'm talking about is Tim Smith. And if you'll give us a quote, what do we have to lose? And see what it is.
We have an option of that, and I know I'd be just being devil's advocate, but if Jeff said he's willing to pay $1,000 for his ground, we're willing to pay, Bruce is willing to pay, the Bowers are willing to pay, but then the Bowers are responsible for the surveying fee, is one option that we have. I know it'd be, that's also an option that you need to think about, but, because I'm just thinking about, honestly,
How would you know where your line was?
I don't think you would be, I'm saying you'd be responsible for the whole surveying project. We pay for the property, you guys pay for the surveying, because I honestly don't think Jeff will want to pay for the survey fee. He might not want to even pay for the,
Yeah.
for
He might not.
for the dirt.
I think he, yeah, I don't know whether he's gonna want to do both or not, but. We just, I mean, like I said, almost a year ago, we just simply wanted to be able to put up a shop to keep our stuff out of the weather. You know, that was the whole crux of it, almost a year ago, so. Seems like it's getting way more difficult than it needs to.
Well, we haven't really talked to Tim or amongst ourselves about, a hard and fast price for the land, so maybe you guys should find out if you can get what your survey is, and we can talk about price per square foot, so that maybe we can, still make it happen for you guys.
And I'm assuming they want to try and get started by the spring, so I guess it'd be nice to get this hammered out fairly rapidly, so they're not waiting another.
I do if we're gonna do it, yeah.
Of course, we could put a pre-escape center across the street from us, we're all gonna move.
So, the offer is $1,000 for the strip of ground.
We can discuss that too.
The offer is
That's gonna-
whatever you
that's
want.
gonna
Yeah,
be what
to
we
come back
offer.
Like I
It's
said,
gonna
that's
be
not
what
hard and
the
fast. We haven't talked, that's not hard and fast right now, that's just kind of a ballpark range.
Right.
So, I mean,
I mean, that's the only thing I knew was, method is to say that Bruce
We should have
paid
said
something
Bruce
down
paid
there.
less, is
What
what
you
you're
should do is you should find 3 bare lot sales in the town of Superior in the recent time, average the 3 lot sales each per square foot, and then come with that. I mean, maybe there's some other lots that were bought that were way less, who knows? But, I don't, you have to have a starting basis for the discussion, but at that point in time, if you think this is a reasonable offer for that, then shoot it to the commissioners and stuff, and we'll do that, so.
does that need to be understood before a motion today, Tim? The county's stance on a cost per square foot, or not yet?
Well, just a unit cost, that the landowners we're willing to pay this much for the pieces of property, so. I don't think, I'd like to kind of stay away from the square footage cost, because obviously that means big
Well,
dent
okay,
in Bruce's checkbook, because he's got more square footage than anybody else, so. So if you just use it like there's 4 units out there, and they've agreed among the 4 that they're willing to pay this for whatever they're getting out in front of their thing, then it kind of sidesteps an issue of just saying, we want this much per square foot, and whatever you have in front of your place, you gotta pay that. So I'd like to kind of get away from that if we.
Yeah, we'll figure something out.
So when, how long would it take if we reconvene this? Would it be another month?
No. The motion that I suggested for the commissioners is that they approve the partial abandonment of Sherlaw Avenue once they've arrived at an agreed upon unit price,
Okay.
and that anytime that has been agreed upon, they can just reconvene this meeting and sign the petition, and you're free to
All right.
do your part of it.
Okay.
So, yeah, we'll basically,
You're waiting on us then?
so what we'll do is we'll have a motion here to go ahead and accept, you know, the request for the abandonment, and then we'll continue the meeting to when you guys have decided who's gonna pay what for surveying, and by then we'll have decided a cost overall. Maybe it won't be $1,000 or $4,000 total, maybe it'll be less. Well, hopefully we can do less, and then at that time, you know, gavel down whatever agreement you guys have made with Jeff and others.
Okay.
So, we can have further discussion, but I'll make the motion. I move to accept and approve the partial abandonment of Sherlaw Avenue with the understanding that an agreed cost for the area adjoining the four separate lot owners has been accepted. Their meeting will be continued to a
This
future
meeting,
meeting
right.
date. This meeting will be continued to a future meeting date when the cost and procedures have then been resolved. So at that point, we'll have a amount that we come up with.
Before you vote on that, are you accepting 50-foot right away or 60?
Right.
It would be 50.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're accepting that?
Okay.
So, okay, so
So-
I'll just
so
amend the
this-
motion to, I move to accept and approve the partial abandonment of Sherlaw Avenue from a 100-foot wide road to a 50-foot wide road, which would allow 25 feet on each side of the street. Anything more to be amended before there's a second?
No, I would just amend the vacation order to reflect that. Instead of 20, it'd be 25.
Right.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. There's been a motion, a second. Is there any further discussion before a vote? Anybody? Mr. Curtin? Any questions or concerns before a vote? Okay.
Just, hope you consider it minor, but I did review the Montana Code annotated, and it says that before we proceed with any of these proceedings, the advertisements should have been paid for, so somebody needs to write us a check for the 2 advertisements. I think, Jerry, you need to write us one for the previous one. I will have to ask.
Advertisements.
The ads in the paper. I didn't know the law specified that those are paid for before we have the hearings.
Oh, I didn't either.
I didn't know what I was just going through it this morning, I'm like, oh, look at that. So anyway, the 2 ads, you're really kind of responsible for the first ad, and the 4 of you are responsible for the second ad, so.
Okay,
How?
how much?
We have to look, figure it out. We'll get it figured out.
$5 or $6.
No, we're talking minimum.
Probably not.
Independent, the
Well, at least it's not the Missoulian, huh?
Yeah.
So, we're talking a range in there from 60 to 180.
Geez,
Yeah.
for a couple of lines in there.
It changes.
Gotta
in
put your
very long
glasses
time,
on to
but
read it.
Anyway, those ad costs are out there, so that's the only other part of the discussion.
Okay, so all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Okay. Well, good luck with the other 4th neighbor there, and we'll see what we can do about the cost for the whole deal on our end to make it.
Huh? I'm meeting today on, regarding the assisted living building. Is there anything on the agenda for that?
No.
Will there be one? in
No,
near
the
future?
assisted living building belongs to the hospital district, so.
Right.
So it'd be on their board
It'd be
meeting.
their,
That's their.
anything that pertains to the assisted living building is the hospital district.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know when they have, well, you do. You know, when do they typically have it?
Yeah, but I mean, it would have to be on the agenda. I don't know, you know, if they're even aware of anything going on, so. But the next hospital board meeting's the 28th.
Yeah, I'm just referring to what I read in the Mineral yesterday.
Yeah,
what
it was
they're-
just
They're considering doing with it, is what I'm talking.
well, Lance Jasper was, had some ideas for it, but that would be something that they would have to bring before the hospital district to
Okay.
do anything with the assisted living building, so.
30 public comment, first up, Patty Curtin.
Okay, a couple different things. First off, we had our union meetings and we did all of our good union stuff. I know that Sean has written you and Dan Johns like 3 different times. Do you know if Dan has the contract back yet? Done? Do you have a copy of it yet?
I thought it was all set out too, and then I just got an email from yesterday saying, Roman, you never told me if you wanted me to reword the language pertaining, it mainly has to do with the language for the previous contract with the lead jailer getting something more beneficial in the union contract, and now the fact that there probably won't be, a senior jailer anymore, it's gonna be a non-union administrator. So he was removing that language, and I thought he'd already done it. So yesterday I said, well, yeah, of course, do it. That's why I told you we needed that removed.
So is there any way that he's gonna get that to you and back to Sean and back to you guys before the end of next week when our next payroll is?
Boy, I don't know, because then that would even require
I know,
Casey to do some.
lots of good stuff.
I don't. You know how it is when
I
the
do.
lawyers sometimes they're in, sometimes they're at the hospital. Sometimes Dan Johns now is backing off to part time and going to hand it over to
To the new guy.
the new guy. So, but what I'll do, Patty, is I'll try to call him today and see if he answers and say, can you make sure that gets done ASAP so that
Okay.
Fontaine and company can sign it so we can get it back.
So in part of that conversation, when we were working through the union contracts, one of the things that I guess maybe I assumed, but I thought that the jail administrator was one of the 6. So the jail's allowed 6 detention officers. Dispatch is allowed 5 dispatchers. That's what we worked through with the strike we had last summer.
Okay.
So is that lead detention administrator, is that one of the 6? Are they going to be a working on the floor detention officer? So they're one of the 6, which means you don't have to hire an extra one?
Right,
or
that's how I
is
understood it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we wouldn't have enough money to do that.
to have an extra one?
Yeah.
Be a
So this
working
person is gonna, be a working,
foreman or.
kind of like Ronnie is as dispatch.
Okay, well, that brings up a good question. So I know that Ellen had mentioned in the meeting last week that she was trying to tweak the job description, not the job description, the duties, so that someone like Ronnie could take both positions.
Mm.
So if she did that, though, she would no longer be able to be a 40-hour-a-week dispatcher. So I called Sanders County, because Sanders County has that supervisor.
That's
They
the
have-
job description that probably came from.
Right, and that lead, that supervisor is not a working detention officer, is not a working dispatcher.
Strictly a
They just do
supervisor.
filled in, strictly supervisor.
Okay.
So if Ronnie were to hold that kind of a position, I'm good, she's still my boss. If she doesn't get the position, she's my boss, I'm great. If she gets that job, she's still my boss, I'm great too. But then that takes away from dispatch, from having somebody man the phones and be a 40-hour worker, because we're already down to 5.
Mhm.
That means we're gonna have to hire another dispatcher. We're still down 1 now,
Mhm.
because Trudy is in training, so it's Ronnie, Robert, myself, and Trudy, and then we're still having to hire 1 more full-time. But then if Ronnie goes into that other position, then it's Robert, myself, and Trudy, and we have to hire 2 full-time. So as that lead person being one of the 6, I thought that's how the salary had gone.
Mhm.
That's how that salary could get that extra $4 to $5 an hour.
Mhm.
So if that's your understanding, that that lead position is one of those 6, and obviously not one of our 5, then I'm okay. Then it sounds like nobody extra has to be hired. But if that lead position becomes like Sanders County,
Mhm.
then yes, you're actually
Mhm.
talking about an extra dispatcher and an extra detention officer
Yeah.
having to be hired. So
Yeah,
that
we're
was
gonna
my-
be doing the interviews today, and I thought right from the get-go, because I think some of the jail committee's gonna be like Lance and Ellen and other people too, so we'll just ask for clarification on that as well, so that we all know what we're interviewing for at the same time and not confused.
That was my understanding at that very first jail committee meeting that we had, was that it'd be a working, Yeah.
detention
Mhm.
officer.
not
yeah.
just an administrator.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought too, but then when I heard Sanders County being brought in and what they did, I thought, well, maybe I was wrong, maybe I assumed something I shouldn't. You know, I heard the conversation last Friday with Durango's that there might be that extra 20 or 30,000, maybe not the first year, but the second year, and that maybe you were planning on that lead position being a new position.
Mhm.
So I didn't know. That was why I came in, to kind of get my own little clarification, to find out if I'm gonna be down a dispatcher and we have to hire more. Just so you guys know, and I've said this before, we've been doing this for almost a year and a half now. We have worked without vacations. Both Robert, Ronnie, and I have, you know how we can hold 2 years' worth of annual leave? We're all over it.
Mhm.
Because we surpassed that months and months ago. And we have, the three of us have worked every single holiday for the past year and a half.
Mhm.
We don't have time off. Ronnie had, I think, 5 days off for outdoor school. I've had 3 little Saturdays off, and Robert's had a couple of other days off, but that's all we've had off in the past year and a half.
Well, thank you for your
Yeah, thank you.
dedication.
Yeah, we love it.
Yeah,
wouldn't-
I know,
I
it
love
kind of
my
grows
job.
on you after a while.
I know, I love my job, I love what I do, so it's not that, but I just know we can't do it forever.
Right, yeah, people wear down.
Yeah.
Yep.
Although I'm sure your brother's happy because he's gonna get a really good Christmas present this year.
Said something about
What's that?
Oh,
you. You said he
You've
said
been
you were
working
buying
so
him a
much.
car.
You've been working so much that he's happy.
Yeah, he said you were buying him a car. That's
That's right. I'm buying his truck from him, that's
There you go.
I'm just
Okay,
teasing. No,
I
we do
have-
appreciate you bending over
Yes.
backwards and not taking a day off. And
Yeah.
hopefully, when we get everything up to speed, you'll be able to take some vacation.
That's what we're all hoping.
All right.
And we really appreciate your dedication.
Well, I appreciate you guys doing what you're doing, and good luck in your interviews today and next week, and I don't know, do we even have any dispatch applications turned in yet?
We do.
How many?
And
I think there's 4. 3 or
So I
4,
know-
but we're not.
I know detention is next week, Wednesday. When is dispatch interviews?
We have not set those yet.
Okay, get going on. That's all I can say.
Okay.
Thank you guys for your
All
time.
right, thank you.
Well, I think we were kind of waiting to do the detention ones,
Yeah.
because there might be some of those that maybe not get hired for detention that would be interested in the dispatch.
Dispatch.
there was a couple that put they'd be interested in doing either or, so
Okay.
we'll see how that weeds through.
Okay, well, and if Ronnie is that choice, like I said, I'm still happy because I know you're going to tweak her position so she's still my boss, right? Just so
Okay.
you know, just so you know, I'm happy with that. Okay,
All
that's all I
right.
have.
All right. And the floor is still open for any of the public to comment.
In here, but I'm Steve Moats, and we're interested in opening the Cedar Iron Mountain Road. And we've had discussions earlier, but as a group, can you guys order the sheriff to go out there and reopen that road, or are we gonna have to go through the court system and get a court order? Or just kind of where you guys are feeling about that, or where it's at?
I think we need to go through the proper channels to do it.
Does that mean court?
From what I understand it is, no, that.
Because we're hoping not to.
Right, yeah.
Well, initially, everybody was up in arms, all of us too, thinking, you can't do that, that road's been there since 1915 or whatever.
Right.
Part of the Yellowstone Trail, part of the original Forest Service CC, building
Right.
roads,
Uh-huh.
and then the Forest Service had their legal team get on it because that was 344 road forever on the map, Forest Service road. And they couldn't find where they had ever actually got an easement down on paper that road, that they, through the Stimson ground or the Plum Creek ground, they never got. They always used to do these little trade-offs, cost-sharing, agreements. Okay, you can haul logs across our ground if we can haul, but no one ever put down a legal easement. And then it came up, well, what about the usage of the road? If it's 7 years or more, isn't it a prescriptive easement? And then the lawyers tell us it is a prescriptive easement if that is a person's only way in or out to their home, egress, But if other people are just Sunday driving or road hunting, they don't get that prescriptive easement. So I think there is somebody that lives up in the hinterlands there. He has a key and he has a right to go up there because that's his only way in or out. He does have, in fact, a prescriptive easement. But then the rest of us, so it sounds like it's going to be a legal question because there's such history to the road, but then there's these other problems like no easements, no agreements, other than, and the prescriptive easement thing is only if you live there and have to go across it to your home. So it took the wind out of our sails quite quickly, and that's why it hasn't really ever been readdressed, because Mineral County probably doesn't have the money, because Tim Reed, our land planner, researched a similar case in Gallatin County, and those commissioners went full force with it, and they ended up losing it in district court. So,
Really?
yeah, you might ask him more of the particulars, but so when all that started looking sour in our favor, then we kind of lost our enthusiasm. But yeah, I mean, I agree that seems crazy that a road that's been there since beginning of time, before Mineral County was a county probably, is now suddenly shut down.
And my concern was too, is if something was to happen on Diamond Road, from, say, Cedar Creek or something that would shut down Diamond Road, say like the chlorine spill, where the people on Diamond Road had to evacuate somewhere, that's really the only way to go.
Well, yeah, that was gonna
But
be
in
my
an emergency, they did it this summer, didn't
Right,
they?
yeah, an emergency,
So,
they
I mean, in
could
an
do
emergency situation, you're gonna go through there.
Because there's only one person that lives past Magones up there. What if they went out and threw a blockage across, Trout Creek Road and said, you can't come up here, and I'll give you a key to Don Goler,
Well, but if the Forest Service had an easement to it, they couldn't stop it.
Yeah, in that case, I think
Do they have one?
I think they do, because most of it's on their
Yeah,
ground.
I would guess, but I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know, but
Well, there's no easement up Cedar Creek through our place. No, there's not.
Yeah,
Okay.
I first did that on the bottom of 4 Mile, going through the yard. I closed down. And I found out the Forest Service and the state land they can't have a prescriptive use. They can't develop it. If somebody lived above me, I couldn't have done it because
that's the only way
that was
out.
their way in and out. I don't deny access. The Forest Service comes in through Slowway and over the top now, comes down to my gate on the upper end of the field. But that was what I went through, and that was back in 91, I think. But had there been private property above me, I wouldn't have been able to do it. Now that's, if there is the place above that may be, that makes it questionable when it goes to court. Mine was not questionable because there was no private property above it.
But-
Now, the idea of an emergency thing for that road to be open, has that ever been done? Did anybody ever said a road had to be kept open because if this kind of a situation would occur, we need
They
this
did
road
this
to get
summer
out?
during the fire. They had to,
Right.
But it's
they
a
had
case
to
by
open the
case,
gate and let the Forest Service through there
But in terms of an advanced agreement drawn up, no, I think it's just, when something occurs, then they go to them and say, we need you to open the road, and I guess they
Well, that's
will.
what I'm asking.
Yeah.
It was only when the thing happens that
Right.
they ever requested.
Okay.
Yeah, if you guys want, maybe Tim Reed would be able to expand more on what he knows about it, but that's kind of the short version I just gave you.
Okay.
Well, we sort of understand the general situation anyway.
Yeah.
And even if we went in the court or something with it, we might end up losing, right?
Well, you might ask Tim about that case he's referring. I don't know the dynamics, if it was just almost exactly like our situation, or if it had different, maybe we have a stronger case. I don't know. I don't know the particulars of that Gallatin
Right.
County case.
But the way it sounds, a lot of those cases, it's the whim of the judge at the time. I mean, they go either way.
Really?
Black and white prescriptive use cases sometimes don't turn out to be black and white after they've gone through court. I mean, the decision is made, so then but a clear-cut case sometimes gets the judge has a different thought on it. So judges can do their own little thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's it that way and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. So, well, thank you guys for taking the time, and sorry we
Yeah.
weren't more helpful to
Yeah,
you.
and, you know, when this first happened, you know, I went online and, you know, there are organizations that's all they do. I think it was the Public Lands Access,
Yeah, I
website.
think we're trying to meet
And
with
I did, I
somebody.
talked to a couple of attorneys, you know, and that was 2013, that, you know, when they first closed it off, that,
Well, yeah, and I don't want this 7-year thing to run out. If
Right.
we gotta start doing
Yeah.
this, we wanna do it
Yeah.
now, you know.
Yeah.
Because then the judge says, well, how come you're raising this issue now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's where we're kind of interested in getting it going again.
Well,
yeah, I know
appreciate
Diane
you.
McGone has a lot
Yeah, I
of
know.
information.
Well,
on
we're
that.
working with her.
Oh.
Good,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Appreciate your interest. Let us know if you find
Yes.
something that we can follow up on.
Yeah, we can help,
All right.
you know.
Sure will.
in our
All right.
Yeah.
And I got two things. Of course, the broken record state line.
Oh, oh.
Have we progressed any further in the last month or two?
Oh, so you know from a month ago that we got the blessing of at the federal level, and Tim Reed is all excited, and he wants to go over and visit with the county commissioners over there, and there was a date and then it got changed, but because we're gonna have to
He asked
help
if
them.
I'd go along, and I
Oh, okay.
would love to, so.
Yeah, because
Since
now
I've
there's
been
gonna
on
be
this
some
one.
little changes with, you know, oh, the building's on this side of the line, you can't charge a sales tax, Idaho, but you get to pay Montana property tax, and then, you know, and I don't know what they're gonna do with the whole law enforcement thing, because, you know, you can rip off somebody's skis off their roof in Idaho and then run over to Montana, and then is the sheriff gonna have cross deputization, and who's gonna
Well,
be?
But, and in that law enforcement part, the way I look at that partly is, you still have law enforcement from the National Forest, and since their forest is doing administration, there's some law enforcement overlap there that can be taken care of. That was one of the things that I mentioned to him earlier.
Yeah,
You know, I've been on this one now for like 23 or 4 years, so
yeah.
I keep bringing
So
it up.
I asked him a couple weeks ago, let me, remind me when there's another meeting over there, and, but he hasn't told me a date yet.
Because I'd already explained it to their commissioners 20 years ago.
Okay.
And now it's a different set of commissioners.
Right.
But they all said at that.
Probably a couple of different sets.
Yeah, and they all said at the time, well, if we have to straighten this out, we'll straighten it out, no big deal. It's just, you know, but it was their assessor that had made that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing I want to bring up is, you folks are probably aware that the gas tax will come to the counties. There'll be some gas tax increase coming about March 1st. And there'll be about 22,000 coming in on that is the new estimate to Mineral County, and that's just partial year since it started late. Superior will get around 20,000, Alberton will get around 8,000. But what you have to do is you'll have to fill out some paperwork and have a project or projects picked out to spend that money.
And those projects have to be specific to sidewalks and roads, or?
Well, basically, like for the county, it would be roads, whether it maybe be a chip seal, which you end up doing, but you have a specified project that needs to be laid out ahead of time.
And does this require that the county do its own work for that money, or can it be a contractor?
I believe it could be either way, but the projects have to be recorded and they'll be put on an audit. And that's why they want the project specific rather than just give the county money. I think Sanders County will get about 44,000, but partly I bring it up because I know that Secure Rural Schools doesn't look good
Right.
at all.
Neither does Pill.
And- Yeah. and-
Neither one of
and Another thing I did last week, but it may not go anywhere, but I called the Attorney General's office and said, I'd like to find out some information on how PILT was set up and the Secure Rural Schools was set up and what kind of an obligation the federal government made to the counties.
Did you get that email, Denley? Because somebody from Mako sent out an email using those exact words, the history of Pilt and how it was set up in SRS. If you want me to forward it to you.
Yeah, I didn't get that back, and I haven't heard back from the Attorney General's, but what I wanted to do was find out if the Attorney General's office on the state level could put some pressure and try and get, and I used specifically Sanders and Mineral counties and Lincoln County as the ones that are affected the most. And Pilt, I know there's one problem with Pilt. Pilt was set up, higher population counties get more money.
Sure. Right, yeah.
And that's totally
Backwards.
against, backwards, because we're the county that doesn't
That
have
needs
enough
it,
people to
yeah.
tax.
Missoula County has.
But I think when it was originally set up, it was set up with like Air Force military bases in mind. And, you know, they were in higher population areas than,
And so
although
this is-
Lakeside had an Air Force base at one time when I was growing up, so they probably did pretty good too.
So Denley at blackfoot.net or dmt.gov.
Have you got the one HD 14?
I do not.
Casey, could you print that for him off that Mako?
You want it printed?
Okay.
Email.
Yeah, print will be just fine.
Okay.
You can do the Denley at montana.com too, that'll,
Oh.
I get that one at home, I don't get that one.
At mt.gov.
No,
Oh, Denley at
at Montana.
It was on there yesterday.
Have you got that one?
I'll enter that now. Denley. Gee, you got like all these emails.
Yeah, well, the one at montana.com I don't, or montana.gov I don't check very often.
Denley at montana.com.
Yeah.
No wonder I never get no answers back.
Yeah, that one, I don't know why, but that one just messes up all the time.
I'll use the other one.
Yeah, do, please. I'm not avoiding emails, that's the problem, I have trouble with that.
But yeah, like you said, because Missoula County has much less forested land than we do, and they get more money because of that population thing.
And so that was one of the things when I talked to the Attorney General's office, I said, the counties don't have.
Denley at mt.com.
Montana.com, Montana.
Oh, you spell out Montana?
Spell out Montana.
Oh, because I've got rep.denley.logie at
Yeah,
mt.gov.
Yeah, and that's the one, I have trouble getting that one.
Okay.
It goes through Helena and back out.
Oh, I spelled
Sorry
Denley.
to mess you guys up. The other one is Denley Logie HD 14 at gmail.com, and that's the one that comes on my phone.
Okay, so now what's another one?
Denley Logie,
Just
D-E-N-L-E-Y,
all
Logie,
D-E-N-L-E-Y
L-O-G-E, HD 14
HD 14
at gmail.com. And that one I get on my phone.
Denley Logie at HD14.
No, Denley Logie HD 14 at gmail.com. That's the one I wrote down for Casey too.
At gmail.com.
But anyway, I was, like I said, just trying to get the state, because they did say at the session, I was trying to see if they had money to help fight some of the litigation for these forest issues. And Tim Fox said, you don't have to make a separate bill. We do have some money. And to me, this is one of those issues that if it is worth battling, either in PILT or SRS, try and get the state on board to help the little counties. Because that PILT, that bothers me too. I mean, since the SRS isn't getting reauthorized, and if the PILT funds aren't fair to a county like ours.
Well, you know, what that's directly gonna hurt is the sheriff's office, because we use that pretty heavily in there.
So that's, like I say, you'll have to set up this gas.
So whatever become of the project out here on Southside Road between here and?
It got shut down basically last fall, I think, but the way it sounded, Steve Felix, last time I talked to him about it, I think he would try to work with you guys on it.
Well,
I
I
thought we
thought
already got
we'd
that
already
resolved.
agreed and had it all resolved,
and I
but
think
nothing
they-
ever got done with it,
Well, I
so.
think they ran out of, for the equipment got moved away. I think was.
Well, yeah, but it was after that.
After that, we felt.
It was after that
I
that,
went to 2B and, yeah, it got hammered out where they were gonna do it, because they were gonna trade some of our roads for theirs, and they would take over that to the shop.
Oh, that part I hadn't heard. I
Mhm.
thought it was just a paving part to get it fixed.
They
up.
said they could do it if they actually owned it, or, you know, had
Yeah.
records of it, and so T-Bone gave them some county roads that,
Okay, this was worked out with Thule or Felix?
while Thule nudged Felix to come work it out, and
Okay.
I sat in the office with him, and the engineer guy, and they said they were gonna work on that, and then
Okay, well,
T-Bone,
I'll-
well, we can ask T-Bone when we go over there if they.
yeah, if they, what's become, because like I'm saying.
Because I can follow up,
if
because it was
we could
positive.
use some
when
of
I-
that
wanna go
money
over there.
if,
Oh, I'm planning on.
Okay, because we can ask T-Bone about, he might need help on how to write these projects that you're talking about for the gas tax, so that we know how to do it right.
And you guys have to make a resolution too, I think it says.
Okay.
In fact, I should send that to you guys.
well, at convention last time, they were talking about, actually the commissioners supposed to sit down and go over the maps to make sure that we're getting all the gas tax money, and I don't know if we've ever.
Jason
done
used
that.
to bring them in.
Yeah, and then
See,
that's,
this
is a
it's something
different
that
system.
we
This will be
need
the
to do.
increase.
A different
You'll
format.
still
Yeah,
get the
but I
other
mean, he
gas
used to
tax.
bring, every year, he used to bring the gas tax maps in and we would go over.
And this is the increase,
Yeah,
the new increase.
And it
this-
required you to put down, spell out a special project in order to get the money.
yeah, but I mean, I'm just talking about the old
Oh.
ones.
Look at this, this is the most recent. Mineral County, we only have 7% private land, local government's 6/10 of it. Weyerhaeuser owns 1%, and the fishing game in the state own 9%, Forest Service 82. We don't have any land here. And by the way, Liz Bradley informed me too, we'll be ready for this in January. 2 more pieces of ground at Fish Creek, 170 acres each, they want to buy.
That's why they're coming in January.
I don't know, this is just crazy. I don't even know if we're able to say no if it matters, but it's almost like,
They've already bought it.
I just don't want to encourage it anymore.
No.
It's just crazy.
No, well, they don't manage what they have.
It used to be, in fact, I still think Fish Creek, taxpayer-wise, it was a better thing in a way that they did take it over because of the infrastructure expenses it could be to some of us on the western end of the county.
Well, what
But from what I've
infrastructure?
seen-
Because we don't plow any roads, we don't do any garbage service, so if the Rabine property, for example, he built a big, beautiful home on it, we would have enhanced tax base, not diminished.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. I think the way it turned out, I'm not quite as sold on that as it.
Well, and the original piece
But-
of
and
what
it was
they bought
supposed to
was
be a
one thing, and now
park
it's been growing.
Yeah.
Had they
Now
done
it's-
everything that they said they were gonna do when they first brought it in here?
But see, the park
And-
issue, that's
Yeah.
come up
Yeah.
statewide.
Yeah.
They've had internal issues with their park, and they still have internal issues with the park, and they haven't gotten that resolved. And in the legislature, that was a topic that was talked about a lot, saying,
And but you have no
tired-
control.
we're
You have
tired
no-
of it.
we have no control over that when they bring a plan in like that and say, here's what we wanna do, what do you think? Well, it looked pretty good at the time.
The only
It
thing-
looked better than the Forest Service owner, and I'll tell you that.
The only
You
thing,
know?
and I think they have to run that by the land board too, so that could be you guys can make a comment to the land board about that.
But even when we did that tour up there, they said, well, we want to sit down and make a plan of how it should be managed. That's never happened. It's,
Well, and I will say statewide, they've had, their park is not being managed. They, statewide, and so that's why you guys aren't the only ones. I mean, everybody is in this same boat saying, you guys are talking about parks. And there was even a bill to separate parks from fish and wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't pass, but the reason it was even put out there was for that, they weren't doing their job with the parks, and they still aren't. The new director promised it, but it hasn't happened yet. But she's been getting lots of pressure, and it's a very, very same topic. They sit, they get these pieces and then they don't do anything with them. Now, they have hired someone that's a forester.
Right, yeah.
And so that's a plus. That's a
Well,
plus.
except in Fish Creek, it's not.
Well, there's no forest left up there. But it is a plus statewide.
There wasn't a lot there before it burnt, but
No,
there's nothing there now.
so I think that covers my issues.
Okay. And you'll be joining us over there. We gotta go here soon. Mr. Curtin, did you have any comment before we?
Yes, I did. I know you're having a meeting this afternoon about the statue. The first meeting I was here at, you were talking about the statue, is about the tree. And you had somebody from the extension office over, looked at it, and it's past its life. But my thought after that was, well, how about the rest of the trees? How if eventually, if they're all gonna have to be taken down, that's gonna leave the courthouse looking pretty barren. And my suggestion was to investigate it, have somebody, an arborist, whatever, look at it, about planting some saplings between each one of those trees so that eventually when the bigger ones have to come down, the courthouse won't look quite so stark and barren.
Like Missoula County does.
Yeah, so that was, it all started with that one there, looking at that tree, 25 years, been driving by, looking at all these trees, and it looks very nice. And it's the same with the old school down there. It all looks very nice, but if they are past their life expectancy, and we're gonna lose them in the next 5 to 8, 10 years, or maybe sooner, I don't know, it will make it look pretty barren, and I think if you've got a jump start on it, thinking to the future,
Right.
to give them, at least it would be something there, at least in the summer, there'll be green foliage,
Right.
or maybe you wanna go with pine, I don't know, but with whatever you guys decide, or hire an arborist to decide and to take care of it. And then, I mean, because you guys got the I don't know where the sprinklers are and everything else, so there's some work there with that, but that was the short and sweet, that was all I had.
Good idea.
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it to the meeting, and I wanted the public comment, I wanted to get that out there, something for you guys to chew on and
Okay.
decide.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, you guys have
Good
a nice
idea.
day. I gotta
Yeah.
go.
The lawn statute decision action item. So. What, have we heard anything new, ideas, comments, suggestions? I know, Dwayne, you said there's been some comments on Facebook
Yeah,
about it.
has been on the Mineral County page. There has been
Have you
one.
seen this page, Emily?
No.
I'm not a Facebook.
I don't do Facebook
Oh.
either.
Yeah.
So I might do it, yeah. but-
Yeah.
Yeah, Dan Hollenbach put a poll on there,
Oh.
asking for, against, and it was overwhelmingly against.
What
Because
were
of
the-
the,
Because, I think the location,
And there was a lot of different reasons. There was comments on their location. A lot of people didn't really understand, thought the county was putting the money up. You can't run your jail, but you can put a statue up. And that was clarified.
Yeah.
That was clarified,
That's too
but they still had comments like,
timing.
well, the money could be used for something else, or why not use it for the pool, or, there was comments on their, good idea, different location. There was, I don't know, but it was like 57%.
oh, it was actually more
Was
than
more than that was the last time I seen it.
Was it primarily because of the tree or because of the corner or?
I think
because-
it was mainly the location,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the location being because of the tree? Or
Right, yeah.
Location being,
Well, that, I think, they just didn't think that it would be very aesthetic to the county property.
oh, really?
Yeah.
wow.
They'd rather
Wow.
have the tree.
And I saw that, okay.
Would it be aesthetic to
Well,
the
it's-
county property if it was in a different spot in the corner?
I did read some comments that said that. Some thought that it ought to go on the other side here. Some thought on that corner down there if it was gonna be on county property.
Oh, the corner by,
Some thought
the kitty
that-
corner, the bank and Castle's corner?
Yeah, some thought the park would be a good location for it.
Well, the whole goal was to bring
Right.
people in.
Right,
So,
right.
I mean, the locals.
But I'm just telling you, that's what.
Yeah, that's what you saw on this, yeah.
What was the name of that website?
Oh, what are they called?
Mineral
Mineral County, what are they?
Community.
Mineral County Community Page or something
Yeah.
like that.
But it's a Facebook page.
Mhm. Yeah.
Let me see if I can find it really quick.
I have some comments too. Do you want me to do them now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to commend you guys for doing something nice, a project for the town. I think it's really neat, and I also want to say thank you for the flowers on the bridge.
Oh,
I
you're
understand
welcome.
you were instrumental in doing that, and you watered them all summer, and I noticed them, they were beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The city's gonna buy them again for
Good,
this summer. So
good.
we'll do
Yeah,
that
it
again.
makes a big difference.
Yeah, it does.
And I don't know who put the garbage cans out, but there's a couple of those too.
The city bought the garbage
Yeah,
cans.
I noticed
too.
those too, so.
Well, thank you for noticing.
Yes.
Not too many people notice the garbage
can.
can.
I never knew you did the flowers either until, were you present, Diane, when someone informed us of that?
No, I heard
But-
it via the grapevine.
I can't remember who told me. I learned
On
that just last
Facebook?
week. On Facebook.
No, somebody told me.
secret in Mineral County for a while.
Yeah.
I asked somebody.
doing
I think I might ask Kathy Cole or somebody, I don't remember. But yeah, they're beautiful.
Yeah,
And-
they really took.
And they also said you watered them every day, so that's a big commitment.
Myself and Shirley Iwata
Well, thank
too.
you.
She filled in and,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, my comments. I wrote this note to the commissioners just to express some concerns and, just regarding the placement and the statue itself. And they could be addressed, so it's not meant to be a criticism or anything. Number one, if this is to be placed on public property, should other ideas be considered? I mean, that was just kind of a blanket question. And number two, concerning the statue itself, what materials would be used? And would a complete plan be submitted prior to approval, other than just the dimension of 16 foot tall? My dad's a carpenter, and when he would make anything, he would have all the dimensions and whatnot.
Right,
So I was, confused about that, how big the base was and things like that. So more information. What possible safety issues might be involved? For example, visibility for traffic on the proposed corner. How sturdy would it be? Would kids climb on it? Yeah, I mean, those are things that do happen, but would any upkeep or maintenance be required in the future, and who would be responsible for that? And would county liability insurance cover this? Those are all questions I had. But for the record, I'm opposed to the tree being cut down and being replaced by any statue. And if it were to be put on private property, I wouldn't have any concerns at all. And again, I think it's nice that you guys are trying to do something positive for our community. So that's just my comments and my concerns.
Yeah. I can probably answer a few of
And I can
those,
give you
not
this,
maybe
Emily.
all of them. Oh,
Just
okay.
give you this if you want.
I can answer a few questions that you had, because you probably didn't see Dennis Althoff's work.
Well,
So
my
it'd be
brother has,
similar.
and my brother
Oh, okay.
really likes it. I need to tell you that.
So, yeah, so as far as maintenance, there would be no maintenance to it, because it's sort of meant to be out there in the elements and be,
This is
you know.
incredible. I like this.
Yeah.
I'm not real sure I like that design. I think it's a little bit too busy for myself anyway, but.
Well, it covers
I like
a lot
this.
of things, Diane.
I know.
right, part of the goal, well, the main goal was to bring people off the highway, to take a look at something interesting, something unique, and, as Jim and I've discussed, something that's about our community, something where the history, because you saw that with them. And a lot of, I've had people ask me, was it just gonna be a sign, a flat, because he can't really draw. In fact, this is the most he's ever drawn for a piece of art.
For
It's up
three-dimension.
here in his, an artist, it's up in his head, and he makes it come out don't ask me how, like this. You know, he never drew that. He just knows, you know, an artist just knows that stuff. So, but it was to be about who we are, where we came from, how our community's changed from mining ore to what we do now, you know, on the river, fishing and recreation things. And so, I mean, it was to give a story for people that would stop. But, you know, you have to have it in a place that's obvious, visible, something that's going to say, wow, I need to go look at that after I fill up at Town Pump, you know. So that's why that corner was sort of vital to the whole concept of what I was trying to do. So.
And when I drove by there, I tried today, I
Uh-huh,
tried to
picture it.
picture it with the tree and the statue, and I'm not sure.
No, I think the tree needs to, and as far as visibility, I think the statue is actually going to sit further back than the tree is. So as far as safety, I think it's actually going to be less, you know, the tree is right there on the corner. This would actually be back a little bit further from the corner
Have you
than the
considered
tree.
other locations?
Well, that's the whole point of it there, because you can see it from both on-ramps and off-ramps of the
No, I
freeway.
realize, but it sounds like that was one of the criticisms, so.
Yeah, well, I mean.
From other people, not from me.
Right.
Anyway, I found
So-
the poll and it had 79 against, 18 for, but a different location, and 8 for.
Is
So
that
that-
after it was
What?
clarified it wasn't going to be used with county money?
What's that?
Was that after it was
Actually,
clarified?
the link then he has the article that was in the mineral as a link to go to that explains what it's for. So-
Because I think that's really important.
Yeah, and Dan
I think that article
Hollenbeck put
said
it
it
on the
was
post, so
county.
you know, if you wanted to, if you, on a Facebook and, you know, go to Dan Hollenbeck, under his post, you could find it. But then it's also under, it's called Mineral County, Montana, mt.community.
Wow.
On Facebook, so.
Okay.
I mean,
So
and
you
there's a
could
lot of
find-
other posts, but that's where it was posted, so, and there was 134 comments, so.
Wow. You know.
But there are a lot of
that
people who don't
happens to-
Facebook, and so. if you
Right,
don't
well, that's
Facebook,
it,
It
yeah.
wouldn't take into
Yep.
account.
Well, I have a comment. Are you through?
Yeah,
Or were you
you-
gonna expand, Emily?
No, I think I addressed all the ones I could. I'm
Okay.
sure other
That was,
questions.
well, the
but-
liability issue was one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
liability,
You probably have to call and ask.
I mean,
I haven't called Mako, find out.
So I
what
know when they
think.
put the,
there's monuments everywhere.
I know, but when they put the playground equipment in, that's one thing they really had to be careful with.
Well, and the town covered that.
Yeah, the town insurance covers.
Yeah, but I mean, they determined what they put in there.
Yeah. Okay, so my comment is about the tree. You know that Missoula County Courthouse has been doing a lot of construction and whatnot. And recently I drove by and saw all the trees were gone and I just was like, oh my God, you know, I was so naked. But I hadn't been following it enough to know the pros and cons. And they said that the trees that were there were almost to the end of their life anyway. And so they're replacing them with trees that will last at least that long, you know. So then I felt better that, you know, it's gonna look better. And I was hoping it wasn't just because the homeless were sleeping there, you know. But our trees are also getting close to the end of their life. So I think if we're concerned, maybe we should just, you know, we don't have to let them just die. We can help them sometimes, you know, by cutting one down or whatever. So I'm for it, whatever happens.
So Diane, if that tree was no longer there because it died, are you suggesting a statue could go in then, or you would prefer another tree be planted in its place?
Oh, I don't know, I hadn't thought about that, but I don't think that tree is ready to die yet. I would not want to see the tree cut down personally now. I don't know how long trees live. I don't know how long that brand lives. I know some of the trees live 300 or 400 years.
I think they.
At the last meeting, it came out that from Dave Rink from the Extension Office, it said these trees, that particular one is at the end of its life cycle.
whatever that
MSU
means.
The MSU extension agent. And I thought about what you said too, because I always thought Missoula County, if those trees are near their end, take the ones that look like they're not doing well, cut those down and plant
As
some
they
new
need it.
ones. So you can stagger it, because
Yeah.
like you said, by the time Missoula County, those trees grow back, I don't think we're gonna be around to enjoy them.
Yeah, and I think Missoula County had a little different situation there on some of the, and whether those ones in the courthouse were part of that, but they had a bug get into some of those hardwoods in there that were helping them along too. And I don't know if those ones on the courthouse lawn were part of that same bunch, but I know they got rid of a lot of their hardwood trees around Missoula, not just those ones there, but it was because of some kind of infestation in it. I'm not convinced that the rest of those trees are anywhere near the end of their life. I would like to have a professional arborist say that,
Yeah.
before you made a determination on any of them, but hardwoods last forever. I mean, they do. Pieces of them will fall off and go away, and they'll grow right back. I've got one in my yard I call it my self pruner.
Well, and
Every couple of years, something falls off it, and I cuss and clean it up, and it's still growing. But yeah, I don't know what the real life expectancy of them is.
Yeah, Ernie.
If I may make a comment, I realize that a lot of people, for the trees, it's a very emotional issue. We're talking about one tree that had been at least given information that, it's at the end of its life cycle. We're not talking about taking all the trees off the courthouse. There's 5, and so we're only talking about one. We are surrounded by trees in this city. We have plenty of trees, plenty that are around here. We have the national forest that surrounds us. I mean, so, it's very hard to envision that one tree should make that much of a difference when we're talking about putting up a potential artist project that really represents the history, the present, and the future of Mineral County. And this is what we want. A lot of things have changed since we've lost the timber industry. But we want to be able to bring up, if you take a look at that representation, not only talks about the mining, about the railroad history, about the hunting, the future, the river, the fishes, and of course, I think the newspaper got a lot of things wrong, saying that it was rainbow trout. Well, that's not
what he meant.
Fish representation representing the types of fish that we do have here, the cutthroat and bull trout that are here in this area. There were a couple things that were brought up at the last meeting that Tim, I think, had mentioned, considering the road. And I wanted to make, as I reflected on that a little bit, I think there are some things that really negate Tim's concern. One is that right now, because of the financial situation of the Montana State Road Department, the fact that they would be doing anything major, any revision on that corner is probably next to nil, given the amount of projects that they're behind on and have a greater priority. 2, having a turn lane put there really puts traffic at a greater risk than what we have now. Because if you put a turn lane to go right and to go left, coming off of 4th Avenue, as those trucks that are coming off the interstate that are going up to Town Pump would be a major visual problem for vehicles that want to make a right-hand turn. And I'm speaking to this as, and I'm sure Roman, as your background, retired highway patrol, and for me, retired from the sheriff's office, is that intersection, if you do that, we're looking at more problems. The only thing that would alleviate that would probably be putting in some type of a signal system. And I doubt that the road department is going to put any kind of signal system at that corner. So, I just wanted to bring up a few points that, Tim, I think, he thought about that, said, hey, maybe this might happen. That's given our current situation financially with the state road department.
Just a minute, ma'am, you had your hand up.
Yes. I'm Sharon Cordum. I live in Dvorak. And I wanted to say that I love the idea of celebrating this community in an artistic way, its accomplishments, all the things that have happened, the history of this place. It's a worthwhile project. But my biggest concern is that this piece looks extremely professional, and I'm also concerned about the process. I think that any artistic piece that is going to be, you're putting out $30,000 for, deserves more of a wider range and a real, a professional art call, which means that we could draw from many more Montana artists all over the state. I think they deserve a chance to design something like this that would be very professional looking and very artistic. And so there's a process involved in that. And it starts with an artist call going out into art journals around the state and at local newspapers and other sources that where artists advertise and look for work. And that extends over a period of time, and then a committee is set up to select the best artist possibility that they like, and then you go forward on it. Even though this is money that's being put up privately for this project, it is going to be on county property, and so I think that the process needs to be extremely professional and more further looking.
Well, I don't think we're gonna get that far, so I wouldn't worry about it. So, you know, I mean, it's up to you guys, but, I mean, you have the final say, but it sounds like people out there, Facebook don't want it, so that's that.
Well, it wasn't just Facebook with me. I asked around and I talked to people, and I've had people walk up to me and give me their opinion whether I wanted it or not. Which is quite often the case.
I'm
you know.
sure. I'm sure.
Not just on the statue either.
Yeah.
But the overwhelming comments that I got were against it.
Okay, well.
I don't believe I had anybody comment to me that they wanted it.
Sheila?
Well, and that might just be concerning the tree. And what if we had the statue in the middle of the grounds here? And when you come off of the ramps, have a little sign that kind of depicts the statue and say, come see me, or something like that. And, you know, I mean, there's other ways of having it when it can't just be in the actual place that you want it. You can get people's attention other ways. So, that's a suggestion.
Like, I had a number of phone calls, and probably the majority of the phone calls, plus the people, you know, that did approach me too, was they just felt that there was more worthwhile causes out there. People are going to donate that kind of money.
I see.
You know, you've got
Sure.
the pool, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, they're trying to
Right.
really get a pool, and, you know, there's just other priorities out there that they felt, you know, the donations could go to. So, I mean, that was the majority of the comments that I got.
Okay.
Fine. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for.
Well,
I don't know if you have to,
I've got a
do you have to
couple-
make an official
I've got a
motion?
couple things to add, if I
Yes.
could. So maybe some counterpoints. I think if an artist, professional artist is commissioned from somewhere else, that's gonna cost more.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think Dennis is real talented.
I do too.
And I like the local touch, the local connection.
He is connected.
That's my
yeah.
2 cents on that part of it, but I am a forester and I love trees as much as anybody.
Right.
And Mr. Brink is correct, that tree is about elderly. It's been traumatized by the work that was done on the one side. It shows drought stress during the heat, when there's that 100-degree heat reflecting off the pavement. And it's not a native tree, it's a Norway maple.
Right. None of them.
The same problem that with a lot of them in town, all over Missoula, all over America. Cities have had to rotate out trees everywhere because they outlive their normal lifespan, or if they're not native, they don't even make their normal lifespan. So, you know, that tree could grow any year. It could hang in there for 20 years. Yeah. So,
Thank you for that. I
You-
do agree. Glenn.
And you like the idea of the statue at that location?
yeah. Yeah, I'd be in favor of it.
I got a question for Tim. So the comments that you had about the traffic study, was there any follow-up on that? Did you get a chance to talk to MDT?
I haven't had a chance to talk to them about that and try to get something set on for them, see if they can. But I think
I
it's,
do-
anything should be based on what MDT, you're encroaching on 2 MDT right-of-ways. So they have a right-of-way on 4th and you have a right-of-way on River Street. So until you know the extent of their right-of-way and what they claim and what they're gonna be responsible for, I think you want to be sure of that before you make a decision about the placement.
I did talk to Dennis too about the possibility of having to move it if that happened. You know, if something happened that they did have to expand that he said it would definitely, because he's going to build it in sections, and he said it could be moved. The only thing that the base, because the base would be made concrete and native rock. His native rock and stuff was going to be on that bottom part. That would not hold, you know, if you tried to move it. The statue itself could be moved, and then you'd have to rebuild the base part. So
What is the right-of-way there? Do you know, Tim? Because I know, you know, we talked about right-of-way on our road, and it goes out quite a lot further than you think when you want to build something.
30 feet from the
Most
center
recent
line.
is that MDT tried to get back to the town of Superior, and it took them about 6 months of conversing to say, no, MDT, it is yours.
I think it still goes back
At
and
that
forth.
point, on some side,
When there's a
said
pothole,
unknown
it belongs to
right-of-way.
you, and there's not a pothole, it belongs to us, and, yeah. Well, listen, you've got more.
I think it's a really good idea on one hand, Emily, too, and you know, we need to do things to make our courthouse more grand and attractive, and I like the idea of a local artist doing some local historical stuff. I don't know what to do about the location, because that seems like primary hang-up with the tree and the corner, but I would, you know, I don't know.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
I know that you really want it on that corner, but could you look at different places to put it? Would you consider, you know, and maybe spending more time trying to see what people think? Because, I mean, if you put up a statue and 87 or 78 or whatever it is % of the people aren't happy, it's probably not going to be real popular. So, you know, I mean, are there other places?
You know, we've got the
I mean,
kiosk here that some people say is kind of an eyesore.
Well, I don't know what it's
And-
for. That's what I can't figure out.
I didn't want to mix up, you know, this
Well-
with that, but I would like to talk to you later at a different meeting about actually snagging that off the courthouse lawn.
Well, no, I mean, I guess I was
but-
going like with Diane, if the corner isn't such a priority, what about, you know, another spot in the courthouse to make it still attractive, but
Well, it's your decision to do whatever you're thinking. If you want to table it, and then I can talk to Dennis more about if it was somewhere else. I mean, we're still going to have to raise the money, and I know it's bad timing with the pool issue and all of that. So, you know, maybe it's something we need to just put in the drawer for now and take it out when a better time.
I don't want to say no today, I'd rather table it, but then again, you're going, oh, those commissioners are just kicking things down the road and never bring it back up again.
That
I think
happens
that-
too.
I
So,
think when you're doing
maybe
it-
it's better to just say no today, and
Yeah.
it's not that I'm good, you know, I could
Well, and I
not
think
give up.
when you're doing a
and-
project like that, it's probably better to give more time for people to
Digest it.
Well,
digest it, comment, come up with alternatives maybe.
Sharon's idea of having a complete plan, you know, from A to B and where we're gonna be in 10 years or with, you know, I think that's a pretty darn
It's a little
good idea.
hard, you know, when you're dealing with an artist, you know, what I
Yeah.
mean, for him to have, you know, the exact measurements and everything is a little bit difficult, because especially with this kind of art, you know, if it's just on a canvas, okay, you can only paint it this big.
Yeah.
But, you know, when it's kind of a metal montage or whatever, I don't know what they
Has
call
that-
that kind of art, but
Well, in terms of getting people thinking about it, or, you know, instead of just Facebook comments, or actually thinking about it, inputting, has the town council visited it at their meetings?
We were waiting to see what y'all were gonna do.
right, I was gonna bring it up after
Well,
you
and I think
guys.
it's easy to educate
Give
more
us
people
the
about
spot.
it.
If the county decides in the end they don't want it, the
Yeah.
town has Eagle Horning Park.
See, that's what I
Put a
said.
statue there.
That was one of the comments
Yeah.
that was,
But most of the comments that I read on Facebook, and right off the bat, I saw stuff about you know, how the county's spending its money. and
Right.
other
Yeah.
counties.
Yeah,
And I put my own comment in there, I brought out the facts, up to the point of that meeting that we had here 2 or 3 weeks ago. And that didn't make any difference. People say, oh, they're spending money. Well,
Yeah, well, they
it's
did
easy to
the
make a
article.
comment on Facebook without having your facts straight.
Right,
And there's a
right.
lot of that going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just see the headlines and they don't actually
Yeah.
read the article
Right.
that goes
Exactly.
with the headlines, you know, they just, oh, well, you know. the
But Emily and
county's
I both were on the
blowing
town
money
council.
again, and, yeah,
and
we know how that goes.
I about bet Emily's very persuasive and I'm more of a sledgehammer, but you get things done. You have to put it on city property, I bet we can get that,
Well,
make that happen.
well, I think that your idea is a good idea because,
Oh, I do.
well, the courthouse, all we really have to make it look nice are the trees. And yeah, I don't know, I think it'd be nice to have like the U of M has a grizzly bear and someone else has, the state capitol has General Mar. And I mean, I would like to see something,
yeah.
but maybe with everybody in better full agreement and understanding where and how it should look. But so I
I
would
can talk
vote
to
today to
Dennis.
table it if that's the motion that comes up. But, because I don't want you to have your spirits, you know, the wind knocked out of your sail
Oh.
by
no.
You don't know me.
Okay.
I always have ideas.
Okay.
I always have ideas and I.
And for the record, I think the statue is a good idea too. I do not like that location.
Would be
Yeah.
I
awesome.
think
Yeah.
one of the valid points that Kim brought up was that is a bottleneck there with traffic, regardless of what's there, whether it's that tree or if it's a snowbank or what it is. It only takes one truck being indecisive or deciding to park there and go over to Castles or whatever he's gonna do to tie everything up on that corner. And I do think with that going out and going there and going there,
I mean,
that
that's
is
the
a
whole point of
bottleneck.
it. It is a
Yeah.
busy corner.
And you can go onto the Facebook page, and I'm on record there that I was in favor of it being on that corner. I was one of the 18.
Okay. All right, well, you guys do what you have to do, but I know you've got more important business next, so I
Now, don't dismiss your importance here today.
Yeah, that's why
But
we're not.
we could table
Well,
it
thank
and have
you.
another
Thank you guys
discussion.
for coming, you bet.
Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate your
Okay.
efforts. I think
Okay.
it's
I
incredible.
think if they
So-
come up with a better plan and
Mhm. So,
Get more.
do you want to make a motion to such?
Yeah, I would make a motion that we table this for now and investigate the plan some more and come back to us.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor of a motion to continue to research this and for now table it, and hopefully we can see Miss Emily Ornelas in the future and have a plan that we all can
I
agree
do.
to? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you.
I do want to see you.